Good morning and hello. We're going to be talking about universal strategies for test taking. Now, whether you are in sixth grade, seventh grade, or eighth grade, all of these strategies are going to help you to do well on test taking. So, today we're going to be talking about our C.U.B.E.S method. C.U.B.E.S, if you have never dealt with, is an acronym and it stands for multiple things that we're going to be dealing with. And we're going to take our time out today to break down what C.U.B.E.S actually is. So the C in C.U.B.E stands for circle the numbers and units. So yes, in your notebooks or on whatever sheet of paper that you're writing on, go ahead and write this one down. The C in C.U.B.E stands for circle the number and the units. The numbers and the units are really important in our equations or in our word problems. It is where we're going to find our information to be able to solve. Sometimes there is extra or additional numbers and units that are given to us. Sometimes we will need to convert our numbers to be able to make our units the same. But the biggest thing is that we need to be able to make sure that we can identify any numbers and variables that are given to us in our problem. The next letter is U. That stands for underline the question. So underlining the question means that sometimes it's really important, and by sometimes I mean every time, it is really important to make sure that we know what the question is asking. A lot of the problems are on STAAR are very wordy. They give us a lot of words that we have to decipher, that we have to figure out, and then we can become a little overwhelmed and we forget to figure out what the question is actually asking us to do. So we want to go ahead and underline that information and make sure that we know what the question is asking us to actually solve. The next letter is B. B in C.U.B.E stands for box the key words. Key words are any of the words that are going to help us understand the problem and how to solve it. Key words can be words that are telling us to add, subtract, multiply, divide, greater than, less than, equal to. The rest of our keywords could be actual definitions, words for angles, right angles, our words for transformations, translations, or our transversals that we just did. All of these are vocabulary words. So being able to box those keywords and make sure that we're paying attention to our definitions is highly important. Our next letter is E for eliminate the extra information. Because the problems are so wordy, we need to sometimes get rid of information that will not help us solve our problem. Sometimes they're just going to give us way too much information. It's kind of like your teacher that drones on and on and on with all these extra words, and we just kind of gotta ignore it for a little while and figure out the important information that is trying to be said. So the same thing for eliminate extra information. Sometimes there's just information that is not necessary. There might be extra numbers, there might be extra sentences, anything that's just not necessary to help us solve the problem. And lastly, the S stands for solve by showing your work. Now, showing your work could be on several different levels. In 6th and 7th grade, you do not get a calculator, so you have to show your work in front of you. In 8th grade, you receive a calculator. In Algebra 1, you receive a calculator. Showing your work can be done on your calculator. That is fine. It doesn't always have to be written down when you have different tools like that, but at the same time, writing it down helps us out because we don't have to keep going back into our problem to look for important information. So if I'm showing my work while I'm solving, if I make a mistake with my calculation, I don't have to start all over because I was doing it in my head. If I'm doing it on paper, I can find my mistakes and I can rework out my problem again. So now we're going to take a look at an actual problem today. And I want you to take a moment out to actually write out the word problem. Normally, I would never ask you to do so, but in this situation, since we're going to practice these 5 strategies, I'm going to go ahead and give you a minute or two to write down this word problem into your notebook or onto your sheet of paper so that we can practice these strategies that we need to solve. I will go ahead and read the problem out loud. The length of Miss Palmer's camping trailer is X feet. The length of Mr. Guzman's camping trailer, Y, is 6 feet less than the length of Miss Palmer's trailer. Which equation represents Y, the length of Mr. Guzman's trailer in feet? On the next slide, I will have the 4 answer choices that we can choose from, and we can decipher which answer choice is going to fit this problem the best. So again, we took our time to write out this problem so that we can practice our C.U.B.E.S method on this word problem. If you didn't get a chance to finish, no worry. Once we get to the next slide, the word problem will still be here. But I'm going to go ahead and look at the answer choices. So our answer choices. A, y is equal to negative 6x. B, y is equal to 6 minus x. C, y is equal to x plus 6. Or D, y is equal to x minus 6. So we want to figure out which one of these answers is going to be the best. I know if I were to choose one just from these little friendly critters sitting here, I would definitely choose C because he just seems the most happy. We'll find out if I'm right later. So back to our problem. The length of Mrs. Palmer's camping trailer is X feet. The length of Mr. Guzman's camping trailer, Y, is 6 feet less than the length of Miss Palmer's trailer. Which equation represents Y, the length of Mr. Guzman's trailer in feet? Notice that I reread that problem a couple of times. We should always read through the problem a couple of times to make sure that we understand the situation. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go through and circle all of the numbers and the units. You would be surprised by what I'm going to circle as my first number. X feet. Yes, a variable is a number. It is an unknown number, but it is still an amount that we need to figure out in our problem. So I'm going to go ahead and circle X feet in the problem. The next number that we're going to circle is Y. The letter Y is also a variable in our problem. It also represents a number in our problem that we will need to solve. The last number and unit is 6 feet. So we circle 6 feet, and now we have all of the numbers in this problem circled. So we know when we look at our equation, we're going to see the y, the x, and the 6 in our answer. Okay? The next part, underline the U in cubes. We're going to underline the question. Whenever looking for the question, majority of the time you will find a question mark, and the sentence will start with the word what, who, where, why, when, how, do, or any of the other English words that, allow us to start a question structure. But in this situation, our question is which equation represents Y, the length of Mr. Guzman's trailer in feet. Being able to know what you're actually solving is important. There's a lot of times that students will solve a problem, but they did not actually solve what they wanted us to solve. They did not actually answer the question. They just solved a piece of the problem because the question looked familiar or similar to something that they had already solved before. So always be sure to underline the question and make sure that you are solving the question that is being asked. Box the key word. So once again, the key word is any word that tells us how to solve our problem. Words that are going to tell us to add, subtract, multiply, divide. Words that are going to tell us it's an equation. Words that will tell us it's an inequality. Vocabulary words, anything that is going to help us solve our problems. So in this problem, it is less than the length. So the word less than is what is telling us our how to solve our problem. So less than in this problem is going to tell us what type of math we're going to be using to solve our problem. So we go ahead and put a box around less than the length of. Last two, eliminate extra information. Now in this problem, even though it was a lengthy one to have to write down, there isn't a lot of extra information in this problem, but I am, just to practice the strategy, I'm going to eliminate one of the words that just is not important. And that word is camping. A camping trailer, it doesn't matter if it's a camping trailer or a regular trailer, it's only the length of the trailer that matters. So we go ahead and get rid of the word camping, and we'll go ahead and eliminate both of those words because it doesn't really matter that they are camping in this problem. Will there always be something to eliminate? No, but in this problem, we're just going to eliminate camping. And now last part, we're going to solve by showing our work. So to do so, I'm going to go to my work page, and we're going to work this problem out together. So we've already circled our numbers. We have already underlined our question. We have already boxed our key information. And then we have already eliminated anything that was additional information that did not matter. Now we're going to solve the problem. The word less than in this situation can mean one of two things. It can tell us that we have an inequality that is less than a number, or it can tell us that we are less than by subtracting. In this problem, since it is an equation, we are going to simply get the opportunity to use a subtraction sign because we are solving an equation. So taking our variables and looking at our answer choices, there are two answer choices that make the most sense. So I am eliminating the other two answer choices because they do not follow our keywords. One dealt with addition, one dealt with multiplication. We're only looking for the problem that is subtraction. So to solve this problem, I have one or two choices. I can trust my vocabulary, or I can test the situation by plugging in numbers to test the problem. I way rather try to test out my problem than I would to just guess an answer here. So I'm going to give a number for, or a value for, Mrs. Palmer's trailer. We're going to say that Mrs. Palmer's trailer is a length of 20 feet. If Mrs. Palmer's trailer is 20 feet long and Mr. Guzman's trailer is 6 feet less than that, then we understand that his trailer has to be 14 feet in length because it is 6 feet less than Miss Palmer's. So now the question becomes, which one of these two problems work the best and fits our situation? So Miss Palmer is our X, Mr. Guzman is our Y. In the first one, it says that 14 is equal to 6 minus 20. Well, that is not a true statement. That is false. 6 minus 20 gives us negative 14. That does not work. In the second situation, 14 is equal to 20 minus 6. This is true. 14 is equal to 14, so that means that in this situation, this equation is the best for our problem. Thank you so much. This has been Methods on Cubes, the cube method. Cuba-lube, Cuba-dooba, Cuba-dooba-dooba-doob. I'm cutting this part out. All right, I'm done.